Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special review, because in this week's chapter, at long last, the title match to decide who is the strongest has concluded. And the strongest sorcerer of all time has been crowned. But before we get into that, as always, if you haven't already, definitely be sure to like and subscribe. I'd like to try and hit at least 100 likes on this week's reaction. Now then, without any further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? When Gojo says, in a fight with a fully powered Sukuna, I will win, you should believe him. When Gojo says, throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one, you should believe him. And when Gojo says, don't worry, I'm the strongest, you should believe him. Because regardless of whatever happens after this chapter, and we won't find out for another 2 weeks because Gege's on break next week, well deserved, Gojo has beaten Sukuna. At the end of this chapter, all of Sukuna's innate power within Megumi has been beaten by Gojo. We don't know what Yorozu's gift is yet. I'll talk about that later in this video. That aside, because it's not something he would have brought to the battle with him anyway, it's not part of his curse technique or his physical powers or anything, Gojo has won. And the way he went about doing it is just perfect. It's just great. This is a great chapter, a great conclusion to a truly great fight. Now, at the start of this chapter, which, by the way, you need to remember, happens over the span of 41 seconds, Gojo regrows his arm because he gets a boost to his cursed energy output thanks to the Black Flash that he landed against Agito. Really thanks to the last 2 Black Flashes he's landed, but you know, they're stacking. And when we get back into the melee this chapter, he's doing more Black Flashes. I think, is it every punch he lands this chapter, or just the first 2 are both Black Flashes? I think it's just the first 2, because he lands an uppercut on Maharaga around the middle of the chapter, and that's not a Black Flash. But he hits 2 this chapter. It's fucking crazy, man. It's insane. He throws Sukuna and Maharaga into a building and starts casting red. Sukuna knows that he's casting red. He recognizes the incantation. He's able to detect the process of using a curse technique and determines, oh yeah, he's going to fire red at us. And then he fires it up in the air with like a spotlight shining down on him. And he freaks out because he realizes what's going on here. He has Maharaga leap out of the building because the blue that Gojo used with maximum output to destroy Agito is still hanging out there. Every time that we have seen Gojo use purple, he just casts it. He actively combines red and blue at the same time and directs hollow purple. Of course, this takes some time to cast, so if someone expects him to cast it, they can try and stop him from doing it. In this situation, Gojo separately fired off that blue, and then separately fires off this red to remotely combine them away from himself and detonate a hollow purple. I don't know if anyone's ever considered that Gojo could use this application, but it just makes sense that he could. I really like this sort of creative application of abilities. I love it. And it works so well with how Jujutsu battles have been established. How this fight has worked is that they're a battle of intellect, of strategy and trickery, how well you can bend the rules in your favor and make your opponents make poor decisions while you try to make the best decisions. So Mahoraga goes over to try and destroy blue, but due to his adaptation, he's unaffected by the pull of blue, which would bring him closer, as well as Gojo using blue to pull himself closer. So he smacks Mahoraga away. Sukuna comes out, and he tries to shoot the red with Max Elephant's water cannon. The idea, of course, being that when Max Elephant's cannon hits red, it'll detonate prematurely. So it won't interact with blue. I like that they're just trying to stop like this chemical reaction from happening. They're trying to stop the two contrasting elements from coming together. It's cool. Then Gojo does something amazing. He does the chant for blue very quickly in order to increase the power of the blue that's already there, and it just pulls the water cannon away from hitting red. Gojo is not the strongest because his technique is the most broken, and the 6 eyes just let him keep fighting forever. Those are contributing factors, obviously. But Gojo is the strongest in large part just because he is the best at using the rules of Jujutsu sorcery. That's the reason him and Sukuna are the strongest. They are the 2 strongest characters. It's because they're just the best at using sorcery. The way Jujutsu works, yeah, they're fucking masters of it. Pulling out these kind of high IQ moves. And then it's over, man. It's over. Sukuna and Mahoraga cannot stop what is about to happen. It's hit terminal velocity here. As the red and blue are about to interact, Gojo speaks the chant for Hollow Purple, further increasing its power. We get a little tiny cutaway where Yuto's like, yeah, I'm sorry for trying to go out there. If I did that, Gojo wouldn't be able to do this. Because when he casts this purple, it's not a directed purple. It's not a beam like we've seen before. It's a nuke. It's a fucking explosion. Man, I'm glad I brought a beverage for this one. This is being recorded the same day as the reaction because I'm going to be busy this weekend. So I've done, in addition to other things, a lot of talking over the last couple hours. So, you know, kind of need that a bit. Yeah, so this is the first time Gojo's ever used purple like this. He had to make up a new move, essentially. He had to improvise in order to beat Sukuna. And, you know, level a few city blocks. It seems like Mahoraga's been destroyed. The wheel looks like it gets disintegrated. I don't think this is just desummoning. I don't believe so. It could be the case. I wouldn't be shocked. However, I feel like the ultimate outcome here, the biggest effect of this outcome, is that Mahoraga's destroyed. Mahoraga gets taken out of the picture. I don't exactly know how Mahoraga's power can be inherited by the other Shikigami because it's supposed to be the last one. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work. And it's not really clear what's happened with Agito being destroyed, depending on how its summoning worked exactly. But Sukuna's here. He's missing a hand. He's missing his shirt. He is all burned and messed up to shit. And Gojo's just here healing himself. Finally, his shirt has been cut open. The most powerful object in the entire verse. Gojo's black t-shirt. This Toji t-shirt. No wonder Toji wore this shit. This is the most durable clothing known to man. So now the situation is that Sukuna can't use Mahoraga. Can't use his domain. He is so worn out of cursed energy and is so wounded that he can't really effectively heal himself. He can't use domain amplification. And because of those black flashes Gojo landed, you know, his cursed energy spiked and he was able to heal himself. And he's healing himself at the end of the chapter here. So with this situation there and now, yeah, Gojo wins. The title match is over. Not only is Gojo the strongest sorcerer of today, he is the strongest sorcerer ever. He's top 1. And apparently this means Sukuna's a fraud, I guess. What a fucking loser. Only top 2 in the verse. I can't fucking believe it. I can't believe he's only top 2. Listen, I've seen some people talk about how Sukuna doesn't have that energy in him anymore. He doesn't seem as menacing. Listen, the entire series, Sukuna was fighting people who were at least a tier below him. In every state that he was in, at least a tier below him. He was a god playing with mere mortals. So of course he seems that strong. Of course he's that terrifying, and he still is that strong. He's the second strongest character. He's disgusting. He's so strong. It's just that Gojo's a bit stronger. It's that simple. I don't understand how this makes him a fraud. Is it because he's using the abilities that are at his disposal? He'd be a fucking idiot if he didn't. It'd just be stupid if he didn't do that. And listen, Gojo's never been pushed this way in a fight before. Of course Gojo looks better at the end of this because he won. Because he is better. It's just that simple. That doesn't make Sukuna shit. It's always been my perspective that Sukuna is the second strongest. When Gege established at the start of the series, Gojo's the strongest. He's the power ceiling. I believed him. I was never someone who believed that 20-finger Sukuna is stronger than Gojo. When he got 10 Shadows, it became a much more likely possibility because 10 Shadows is gross. Maharaga is cracked. But Gojo can just handle it. Gojo is just that competent at using his power. So, yeah. Now, I don't think it's fully over. Like, the fight is over, but Sukuna's not done for. Because, you see, this fight doesn't conclude anyone's character arc. There was not really any sort of pre-established connection between Gojo and Sukuna. This fight was just to see who's the strongest, and also to try and take Sukuna off the board because he's still an antagonist. But that doesn't have anything to do with either of their character arcs. So the conclusion of this fight doesn't really provide any narrative conclusion for Sukuna or the people who are most closely connected to Sukuna. We still don't know the full deal with Sukuna's motivations or his backstory. We still need to learn that, especially because Yorozu's own words got brought up again when the first round of this fight ended. So we still got to get Sukuna's thoughts on everything. And I imagine we'll get that next chapter. You know, him and Gojo are going to chat a little bit, I think. Because his solitude has finally been sated. He is no longer alone at the top. He's finally had a challenge. He's been beaten. I wonder how Sukuna feels about not being the strongest anymore. Don't you think that's going to be something interesting to delve into? For that to happen to a character after 1,000 years of being unchallenged, now you are the challenger? That's probably interesting. I hope Gege delves into that a bit. Kashimo accepted being resurrected for the purpose of fighting Sukuna, so he's still got to do that. And then, of course, you have our main character. Yuji's dynamic with Sukuna has been a thing since Chapter 1. That needs its own resolution. This fight doesn't resolve that. I've talked the last few weeks about how, Sukuna's still got to run the gauntlet. Kashimo's got to show up to fight him. The heavy hitters probably aren't going to fight him now at this point. We're saving them for Kenjaku. And then, Yuji's got to have some kind of fight with Sukuna at some point. Whether it's an actual physical battle or he has an inner battle with him in their innate domain. It's got to be something. That has to be their resolution. That hasn't come yet. So what happens? Well, either Gojo just deletes Sukuna's heart right now and they can revive Megumi later somehow, but Sukuna's still around. Or it's time for Sukuna to use the little gift that Yorozu gave him, because we still don't know what that does. It's not part of Sukuna's power that he expected to bring to this fight, because, he's been expecting to eventually fight Gojo. It's the only thing I can really think of for what could help him. Is just, I don't know, something that either heals him, restores his cursed energy, just gives him cursed energy. Maybe it will somehow allow him to revert back to his original body. Because I've always been thinking we're going to see that thing in action at some point. We're going to see his original form return, some way, shape, or form. And if that's the case, it basically restores Sukuna to a point at which he can fight someone who's top tier, but he doesn't have any of his insta-kill stuff like his domain. He doesn't have Maharaja anymore, presumably. That's perfect for Kashimo to come and fight him and then still die. And then Sukuna's still around, because I don't think Kashimo's beaten Sukuna unless he showed up right now and he just punched him really hard in the back of the skull. That would probably kill Sukuna. But Kashimo doesn't want to do that. He wants to fight Sukuna. He wants to fight him like Gojo just fought him. So, you know, gotta get out of it somehow. And you know what? This fight's happening on Christmas Eve. And it's a tradition in many households that you get to open up one gift the night before Christmas. Or the day before Christmas. Pretty sure it's like late morning, middle of the day during this fight right now. So, you know, show us what you got on you, Sukuna. Show us what Yorozu gave you. And we see whatever the hell comes after that. It's September now. We've got 4 months left in the year. Gege's not finishing it this year. Not at this rate. We've been on this fight for 3 fucking months. For over 3 months. And we still got those things to conclude. We got Urayume. We got the final battle with Kenjaku. We're going into the new year, I think. And I'm not going to complain about that. This is the main series I cover on the channel. I'm not going to fucking complain. I love JJK. So, listen. This fight was great. From a technical perspective, I think it's the best fight in the series. Narratively, I still think Yuji and Todo versus Mahito is better. Which do I put above the other right now? Right now, I still put the Mahito fight above. I just got more emotional satisfaction out of that one, as some of you may recall. But I don't know. We'll see how I feel upon rereads and such. I'll compare the two. We are going to get that fight animated in the next few months, so, you know, we're going to see what happens. But with that, that's all I've got for this week's review. If you guys enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reactions and reviews every week that we get a new chapter. If you enjoy discussing Jujutsu Kaisen with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.